How are we doing? Do we have audio?
Rainbows and sunshines.
Holy cow. It took you guys 5 seconds just to get to there? Holy moly. Who's had a good weekend out there? Oh, I see some thumbs up out there. All right, all right, all right. Somebody want to talk to us about their weekend? Anybody have anything interesting happen across their transactions, new offers? We got a fresh week here. What do we got?
I can't raise my hand. I'm sorry. I'm in the
All
car.
right, we'll allow it.
So Friday went to a showing, called the customer, said, "Hey, listen, I'm here." He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm 15 minutes behind." I'm like, "All right, no problem." 40 minutes later, finally shows up, and I'm getting ready to leave because I already told it's a multifamily. I told everybody, said, "Hey, listen, I apologize." And of course, he comes up and says, "What do you mean I can't see it? We're only 40 minutes late." So we show the house, everything, blah blah blah. Then we're outside. And of course, first time had a bird poop on me, literally, which was fun. So I look at the guys. I'm like, listen, you guys are 40 minutes late. I just got pooped on. You guys got to put an offer on this house. We'll get back to you. Hour later, they put the offer in. So I guess if a bird poops on me and I get to get a deal together every time, I'm okay with it. That's all.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Yeah, you know what? It is weird people's perception of time. I have struggled with my time my entire life. I think I'm at a pretty good place with it, but I am a let me do one more thing before I've got to get to that appointment. So I am not the be there 5 minutes, 10 minutes early. I'm typically arriving, not typically late, but kind of on time, kind of coming in a little hot, and we have a little calendar of etiquette that we go over with our kids. We try to go over on our if we're doing a Sunday dinner, and the one that we had up for the past week was be on time, and so it just kind of gives a little quote, and the kids kind of read it, and we had to be to a soccer game for 9:30 over the weekend, and you probably should leave around 9 o'clock. Probably could get there for 9:30 if you left at 9:05, 9:10. So of course we leave at 9:10, and we're coming in hot. We get our son there just in time, and then we are reminded when we get back by our kids that our word for the week, or our phrase for the week, is be on time. So it was a doubleheader. We had another game on Sunday, and we managed to leave at 9 o'clock, get there easy breezy. Don't have to be driving like a bat out of hell. So yeah, but 40 minutes is a long time, Martin. That is a long time. Now that you've got a little bit of rapport, did they give you any kind of inside baseball? What was going on? Like, kind of ridiculous, 40 minutes.
So they're from Worcester, so I think they left at 9 o'clock. No, I'm sorry, 9 o'clock. The appointment was for 12, so I think they left at 12 from Worcester. I guess that's the way they do time. It's like, all right, if it's at 9 o'clock, that means I have to leave my house at 9 o'clock or whatever.
And no warning. Hey, we got a late start. We hit some traffic. We're going to be nothing.
No, I mean, I called them. It was always me calling. It's like, oh, we're 15 minutes, 15 minutes. And then like, we're here. I'm like, well, yeah, so am I. They went to the wrong house. Which that kind of like, all right, at that point I was kind of annoyed. I'm like, all right, this isn't going to go through.
Yeah.
If they're not even at the right house, but it went through. It's all that matters at the end of the day. So we're doing inspections today, and hopefully we'll go from there.
Anybody else on timing or clients being late or anything around this topic that would be, what systems process do you have in place? I'll tell you, one of the best things that Follow Up Boss did with their CRM is with their appointments is to do the automatic text reminder for you. So if you are a Follow Up Boss user and you are not using the appointment section, I think this is a big miss. Put your appointments in there. It sends the auto reminder that morning. It may even send, like if it's a later in the day, send something maybe an hour or two before. Hey, just a reminder. We've got an appointment today at X. So I think it's just a great tool. And even if you're just going to get a, hey, you know what, I'm not going to be able to make it. Fine. at least I didn't drive out to the property. So I think the auto reminders is one of the better tools. Anybody else just have anything or a process system that you're using regarding timing and showings? And who's got something to share around this? Nothing. We have no systems, no process. We just wing it.
Seems to be working.
Seems to be working.
Hey, only thing I would add
Yeah.
is when I do that text for my appointments, it's not a something like, "Hey, looking forward to seeing you at 2. Be there in 30 minutes," or something, because I'm typically driving to the seller's house, not meeting him somewhere. But I'm leaving less of a opportunity to say it's not going to work for me, and more of a, "Hey, be there in a half hour. Looking forward to it," type of thing.
Yeah.
So just a little bit different tone in that language, so that they
Yeah.
don't feel like I'm trying to confirm it, but that I'm confirming I will be there.
Right. Right. Kind of the driving the bus, right? I'll see you in 30 minutes type of a
Yep.
thing. Yep. Good.
Yep.
Yeah, I think if you use the follow up boss one, I don't think it doesn't really allow them an out. It's like just, hey, if you have any questions or something like that, let me know. So it's not like, does it still work for you? So similar lines there. Anybody else on this topic? All right, I did want to share.
Your audio's off.
No audio.
Now I'm good.
Good.
Yep.
Good, cool. So I don't know if you guys saw it, but pretty big news that came out from the Federal Reserve. They released a statement. I saw it here on Real Estate News that buyer agreements don't lead to lower commissions, the Fed finds. So they published this paper on May 12th, Commissions and Omissions, basically kind of looking at everything that happened since these agreements have changed over. And it also says here, it analyzes the relationship between buyer agreements and commission rates after different states enacted buyer agreements laws as early as the mid 1990s. So we've talked about this before, that several states already had the buyer agreements in place. So they did a pretty big study here, and no change, which is kind of what we've seen, right? I don't know that much has changed with regards to the commissions, but the paper concluded that while there has been a modest downward trend in buy-side commission rates, which fell from roughly 3% in the 90s to around 2.7 in the 2020s, there was no evidence that the introduction of buyer agreements contributed to the downward trend. So pretty interesting. And relatively, buy-side commissions relatively stable since August. So the Federal Reserve paper seems to align with current data on buy-side commissions. Redfin found, this is a May 16th report, that buyer agents earned on average 2.4 in the first quarter based on transactions involving Redfin agents. That percentage is actually up slightly compared to third quarter of 2024, which they were at 2.36. And then they finish off here with sellers still pay, but that could change if the market shifts. So in general, sellers are continuing to compensate buyer agents. Sellers don't seem to have any issue paying a buyer's agent commission. If we enter a seller's market similar to that of 2021 and 2022, maybe that could change. I think that's kind of what we're feeling. Does anybody want to kind of comment on this? Is anybody feeling anything different or since the changes from last year? There's some data, kind of behind some surveys, some Redfin data. Chris.
I'm just going to say that I don't think that the buyer's agreement themselves have made it like it's lower, but I will tell you the offers for sure have made it lower. So it is a given that 90% of the time, You're only getting 2% out here in this world right now. And if your buyer's agency says 2.5 or 3% or whatever it is that you do, that's fine and dandy. You can put what you want on that buyer's agreement. But the bottom line still falls down to, if your buyer can barely afford to get into a house, how are they going to afford to pay you another 0.5%? And if you're anything like me, I'm a sucker. So, I mean, I'm not going to lose a deal over a 0.5% because my buyer can barely come up with closing costs. And I have had many agents, when I'm brainstorming with them, tell me, like, oh, with the highest and best coming to the table, they're not going back and saying, okay, we'll accept yours, but you need to go down to 2%, where they are just taking that 2%. So it's a fine line out there,
Yeah, I mean
especially
that.
the new ones.
Yeah, I think this is the beauty of the business. You guys are running your own businesses, and you get to run them however you want, right? I mean, I think some people are going to say, you know what, I want more deals, I want more happy clients, I want more referrals, and this is how I'm going to run my business. I've seen other agents that say, you know what, I'm not working for that. I don't want the stress. I don't want that. I'm going to work with less clients, and I'm okay with working with less clients if I'm going to lose some people. Right. And so that's the beauty. You guys get to choose how you want to run this business. I personally have always just been from the point of, I want more people in my, past client pool. Right. I want to do more deals. I think doing more deals just leads to more opportunities. And so I'm going to do whatever I've got to do to keep deals together. So, but you get to run your business however you want to run your business. That's the beauty. Meg.
I just kind of wanted to throw a question out there. Chris kind of brought it to the forefront.
Yep.
When you're having conversations or attempting to have conversations with a listing agent, are you finding that they're being forthcoming? Like, if you ask the question, is my request for 2.5 bananas, affecting, our position, in terms of the offers that you have in hand, or is that just not coming up in conversation? I know for me on the list side, agents aren't asking that. So I just wondered if that's coming up for anybody at all.
I'll tell you, I called an agent yesterday and they picked up the phone for me because, I'm just going to say it, we've done a lot of deals together. And she point blank told me, I've had about 25 calls today on this. I already set the highest and best. I'm not talking to nobody. Like, she's like, highest and best is Tuesday, yada, yada, yada. So, I mean, I think that there is a fine line. I always do obviously have that conversation where, what's going to be best to get my buyer, this, is it this or this? And a lot of times, it's all contingent on the offer. Like, hey, I'm going to go, my buyer, not me, because obviously it's never me doing it, but my buyer is going to go up another 1,000 or whatever, because they want them not to have to pay me out of their pocket. But that's a great question, Megan. But then there are, like yesterday, that person's not answering the phone because she's getting 25 calls.
Anybody else want to kind of speak to their experience around this? Are you asking? Are you getting responses?
Can I speak real quick?
Sure.
Sorry. I always ask, but what I find annoying sometimes is like, all right, put it in the offer, I understand if it's a multiple offer situation, you got to kind of really do two. But the ones that get upset say, like, I always put 3. I always try to get the most. And
Hey guys, let's just not use actual,
Oh,
everybody
sorry.
you know what I'm saying? Let's just,
Gotcha.
yep.
Try to
Go
get
ahead.
the highest percentage for myself. And then they get upset because, well, we're not going to pay that. Well, you said to put in the offer. You didn't tell me how much you were offering. And that's the part I don't get. If you're paying a certain amount, tell us you're paying a certain amount. Don't say leave it open. I guess that's my thing. Because if you say leave it open, I'm always going to put what's best, what's the most can I get? So that's all.
Meg.
Well, Martin, it may be a situation depending on who the listing agent is. They may not be having these types of conversations with their sellers ahead of time. And maybe the seller was willing to pay a certain percentage going into it. But then when they're looking at a field of offers and all of a sudden half of the offers either are offering a reduced amount, and then there's another handful of offers that are asking for, we'll call it a full commission versus a slightly reduced commission. When you're looking at the net numbers, it does drastically reduce. And, I'm still schooling my sellers, like, let's not pre-negotiate a commission. We're going to negotiate it out through the offer. So, depending on how the seller's agents are having those conversations, there may not be a predetermined amount in there.
Go ahead, Chris.
And then it's that conversation. What's most important? The cost of doing business or the net in your pocket, because that's going to be the bottom line. But like Megan just said, it is going to be the people on the other side if they are having those hard conversations with their sellers. I have in an offer before written when I'm doing an escalation that it is the net, that is the net that the people are getting in their pockets. So, like, if I want 2 bananas or 3 bananas or 18 bananas, like, let's just look at the net. But again, this is where those relationships come in. It's so tough if you're not in relationships. So the fact that Megan, hasn't gotten a call necessarily, or me for that matter too, is the scary part, because we are answering our phones.
Yeah. Lauren.
So I just want to say it makes your clients feel special as well. If you are like, hey, I know our contract says bananas, but in this case, sellers has said apples. And, in order to make sure that this goes through for you to help ensure that you're getting this transaction, I'm willing to accept apples. Right. And they're like, you're really going to do that for us to help us get this? Thank you so much. So I think there's just something to that.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of what I think Chris was alluding to earlier, right? Like, you want happy clients, and when you can go above and beyond, are you willing to leave a 0.25% on the table to get an extra referral here or there, right? To do more business. I mean, I think I feel comfortable talking about statistics because this is just something that Redfin has published, and I think this kind of makes sense. This is for properties that sold for 1 million or more. Buyer agent commission rates averaged 2.17, down from 2.2 in the third quarter of 2024. And then commission percentages on lower price homes increased, however, averaging 2.49 for homes that sold for less than 500,000, up from 2.42 in the third quarter of 2024. And then commissions on homes between 500 and a million also inched up from 2.27 in the third quarter of 2024 to 2.29 in the first. So those were first quarter of 2025. So that's their numbers that they're publishing. Take that for what it's worth. Anybody else have any other questions around the kind of commission conversation? Talking about it with your clients, putting it in offers, negotiating it with your sellers. I mean, I'm obviously not in production, but it feels like it just ended up business as usual. It's just not published. Is that right? Like, even when it was published, you could still negotiate the terms. So it just seems like, okay, we just haven't committed to anything up front now. Chris.
Couldn't disagree more. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
It has
All right.
definitely, the bananas have gone to apples for the buyers. Agents, I'm just saying.
100% agree.
Okay. I mean, if it's in my world, Steve, I'm making it so everybody's happy. I say it over and over. We're all in this together. This is a win-win. This isn't, if you're coming into a transaction saying, we're going to put one over on them, you're in a bad spot. Like, that is not how I want to leave any transaction feeling.
Right. Right. I'm looking at those national numbers that Redfin's publishing, and I feel like those were the numbers prior. Like I don't know that just seems normal to me. I don't know. Meg.
For me, I'm definitely seeing a difference, Connecticut versus Massachusetts. Like I feel like the Connecticut agents, even prior to the settlement, there was an expectation of a certain number. And if ever a different offer number was offered when we could put it in the MLS, I was always getting pushback on it. So I don't feel like the number has changed from a buyer's broker perspective in Connecticut as much. At least that's what I'm seeing.
Interesting.
Agree.
Anyone else with any thoughts? All right, we got a little bit of time left. Who's got something quirky going on a deal to talk about? What do we got? Somebody got something going sideways? Maybe something that you solved over the weekend, last week? What do we got? Talk to me about your deals.
I have something. Can't figure out how to raise my hand.
You're going, Laura.
It's Lori.
Go ahead.
I
Yep.
didn't put my name in today. I can't stand when a buyer's agent puts that they're going to do inspections for informational purposes only and then hits me with a repair request. Like, it just makes me bonkers. Like, I discuss it. We have a full-fledged conversation about it before we accept it. It's in right. Like, I can't with it. And I just had this happen on another transaction, and I just kept writing back, please terminate, because we had a fantastic backup offer. And he kept coming at me again and again and again. What about a $5,000 credit? What about a $3,000 credit? What about I'm like, please terminate. We have a great backup offer. Finally, they caved. But once again, here I am, 9-offer situation, great backup offers, repair request. And I didn't even open the inspection report. I don't want to know. I don't want to see it, because if we go back on market, I don't even want to know what in the world they found, because you know what I'm saying? So I told them, I'm like, please don't send me the report. If you're going to send a request, I don't need to see it. We've already discussed this. Like, nobody's fixing anything. We have a great backup offer. Like, it makes me crazy.
Anybody want to comment on this? Because I know Lori's having.
I mean, unless it's a health hazard. Like, let's say they found something seriously, a health problem, like mold, or like there was something seriously wrong. I get it, but a nitpicking one, I'm like, get the F out of here.
Yeah, I mean, it's ultra frustrating, and I know that you're having those conversations up front. Is there anything, anybody doing system strategy to prevent this? Right. I think the key is, hey, look, I saw, on the offer, you've got it for inspection for informational purposes only. I'm just letting you know my client's not in a position to do repairs. Like, we're just not, right? I got 9 other offers. So, Adam, I see you're unmuted.
Yeah, so interesting. I was watching a video this morning. So the Florida contracts are slightly different. They have a true as-is contract, and the seller is under no obligation to do anything if the buyers use an as-is contract, which most agents are requesting. So even if you make a request, the seller does not have to respond or do any of the repairs. So once the basically the due diligence period is over, that client has to self-determine whether they want to continue or not. So in Florida, as long as the seller does not respond, it basically just becomes the contingency period. And after that, the deal is moving forward. So it kind of forces the buyer to not request anything because the seller does not even have to respond. Where I feel like in Massachusetts, if the attorney makes a request or the buyer at least gets something submitted, whether it's signed or not, it at least buys you some time because you said, hey, I requested this. So I'm just thinking out loud. I wonder if we can steal some of the Florida language and put it into a purchase and sale that just puts the seller under no obligation. Because the way I look at it is,
Adam, my issue is the reason that the buyer is doing that is so that they still have an out. right? And so they're not willing to do as is because they want to have the out, right? But the out was supposed to be, when these originally started getting used, is for like what Lori's saying. I got a major foundational issue. I got a major mold hazard, right? So we are just moving forward. We don't plan on asking for a repair request unless something major comes up. But it's, the frustration when it's not something major and the buyer's still trying to get money on a repair
Right.
request. So I don't know that the as is really solves the issue.
Right.
You know?
I mean, when I see that, like, it means nothing to me. Informational purposes, it means absolutely nothing to me.
Yeah.
Especially in this market when you might have 15 other offers you can go back to.
Yep.
It means nothing. and the buyers, I think, understand that at some point, right? And they stop making requests. And then when the market gets a little more buyer friendly, and then you start seeing repair requests again because they know they can get away with it. So,
and Laura, I think the way she's handling it is like, just terminate then, because we're not doing anything. We'll just move on. I told you this up front. Just file for termination. We'll move on to the next buyer. That's why we had the 5-minute conversation before you submitted your offer about your terms. Chris.
As a result, like she just said, and I knew that Adam was going to say that, that's his favorite line. That means nothing to me, nothing, because it doesn't. He's 100% right. But as a result, that's when I say we need inspections in days with your as is. You know what I mean? And as an agent, just a note, make a note that if you are coming in as is and you're, or informational purposes only, and you're saying we got this, and like Lori said, safety, red is a whole other story, and you're coming in and asking requests, the agent's not going to forget. And it is our due diligence for our seller that when we're presenting offers to have the best offer, the best come to the table with fruition, the best lender, the best whatever. And you don't want to put yourself in as that person that comes in with info only and walks out with inspection requests.
Yeah, you're really, really hurting your reputation when you do that, unless, like Lori said, you got a health hazard, real foundationals, a structural issue, right? Like that's the whole purpose of this. Hey, we walked through it. House seems pretty good. We don't expect anything, but they just want to make sure there's nothing major. Jay.
And to piggyback what Chris said, I also did that as well. Like I want inspections done within the next 3 days. I'm not screwing around here. We need it done immediately. So, I had them edit the offer, inspections to be totally completed within XYZ date. Get the F in there. Now I want it over with, because if you're going to pull shit, we are going to go to the next offer. And then of course, here we are. So, I mean, I feel like, are they maybe just testing and then they're going to cave? But we do have excellent backup offers. So why go through all of this? It's just really frustrating. But exactly what Chris said, I want inspections done today, tomorrow, immediately. Let's go. And it's a vacant property. So there's no reason why we can't get it done right away.
Yeah, and I see your hand, Jay. I'll go to you next. But when you are on the buy side, I always thought it's a best practice if you got to go with some sort of repair and say, hey, look, and I already talked to the inspector. We can get in there tomorrow afternoon. Right. So, instead of Lori having to go to that agent and say, I need the inspections done within 3 days. How nice would it be if the offer came in and said, hey, Lori, I know what you think could be a potential issue here that we're going to still ask. I've already talked to the inspector. We're going to be there tomorrow afternoon. Right. Make it easy for them to accept your offer, to want to do business with you. Jay.
For me as a listing agent, when I see the offers come in, informational purposes only, I call the agent and ask them, what is your definition of informational purposes only? And then they tell me, and I said, okay, put that in the offer then. If they say, well, no, if it's something structural, then yeah, we might consider, asking for it, or if it's something, if it's mold or something. And I said, well, then unless it's a big health or structural issue, you're not going to be asking for anything. Just be clear up front. And as a buyer's agent, I do the same thing if I'm writing any kind of inspection language in the offer.
Yeah, I do like
that. Way nobody's surprised.
I do like that. Just straight up ask, hey, what's your definition? I know a lot of people think a lot of different things. Just want to make sure we're on the same page here because I got 9 other offers. We're picking yours. Like I can't afford to have you come back and ask for the faucet that's dripping. You know? Chris.
I have had agents lately when they're putting in offers as well, write a number in there. Like we won't ask for anything unless it goes over $5,000. That kind of looks good too. I've never personally done it, but it's been on my offers.
Yep. And I would just want to suggest if you're going to do that, it's got to be an individual item that would cost more than that, right? Like, so if you receive an offer that says, hey, we won't ask for anything that's less than $5,000, you could tally up a bunch of little things that are going to come to more than that. So make sure that we're saying, hey, we're talking about big ticket items. It's a roof. It's the HVAC. It looked okay. Turns out it's not okay. We weren't expecting that, right? So a single item that was to exceed 5,000, 10,000, X, right? The bigger that number is, right? The safer that offer is. So if you're the one writing it, put a big number in there if that's really what you're doing. All right, we are over. Good stuff back and forth today. Appreciate the energy. Hopefully you guys have some offers in that you're waiting to hear back on and you get some stuff accepted today. And we'll chat about some deals tomorrow. All right, have yourselves a great Monday. We'll do it again tomorrow morning. Take care.
Thank you.